Hello trainers, welcome to another video. We're going to be diving into a core series kind of videos, a little spin-off from the shoutcast videos that most content creators would make, but I want to dive into more just core, like a Pokemon that has a nice pairing between one and another, between their strengths and their weaknesses. We do talk about that through our podcast videos quite a bit, and I really want to chime in and focus into more of those types of ideas because I think it would be kind of smart to start thinking about cores, Pokemon that are paired very well from one to another, and to figure out what could be that third edition in those teams. So diving into this video, we're going to be talking about Origin Palkia and Rhyperior. So since a Mudslap became a buff in GBL and Rhyperior just took over the meta, a strong core was Origin Palkia and Lando. But Lando hasn't had much play since Rhyperior to some extent, but it was a very, very strong core, and we've been seeing it more and more recently now, Rhyperior and Palkia becoming a very, very strong pick, a very strong core. It kind of replaced, not to say really replace, Lando, but in most situations I can say Rhyperior has better coverage with a lot of things in the meta between the dragon types, your Ho-Ohs with your flying types, and just having the pure damage of Mudslap is just very, very beneficial, where Mudslap really took a turn and a step back, hence why Lando hasn't been as popular as it was before with Palkia. With PV Poke, you can actually go through a page called Team Builder where you can add in 3 of your Pokemon that you're going to use, and you can actually see what wins and losses you have amongst the 3 Pokemon. And there's also here potential threats, for example, and alternatives that you could use to make your team a lot stronger. As we're saying with our core in this video, Palkia and Rhyperior are very, very strong, and they complement each other really well. As you can see, Origin Palkia with all the wins and losses, and for its losses, Rhyperior picks up those wins. Now, the one thing in this meta that would really core break the two would be Tapu Bulu. But because of all the Kyurems in the initial beginning of our rotation, we don't see as many Tapu Bulus in the meta, making Origin Palkia and Rhyperior still very, very strong. Now, jumping to these battles, these are battle submission from Findpanic, one of our OG battlers in the Twitch community, a very strong battler as well too, very known for Master League content, but very, very strong in the Show 6 format. Check him out. I'll have links in the description. He has a team that he submitted to me. It is Rhyperior, White Kyurem, and Origin Palkia. Now, I don't believe Origin Palkia was best buddied. I could be wrong. Actually, I'm looking through these here. It looks like it's 4700 CP, which it is. Without a doubt, anyways, I would say that Origin Palkia being best buddy is the better situation for this team because you get the bulk point for Dragon Breaths, and especially for the mirror matchups, it makes a huge difference amongst other things in the meta. Now, like I said, Rhyperior and Palkia has been one of those things I've been talking about recently in the podcast videos. Seasons before, it used to be Lando and Origin Palkia. It was just a very, very strong core, and it was just a lot of things in the meta. You just couldn't really like compete with this core, and it's just, you know, ever since Rhyperior becoming a thing in the meta now with Mudslap, it just took that forefront. And I can see it because Action had a video on it. I've been using Origin Palkia with Rhyperior this rotation instead of Lando. We kind of played it out a little bit here, but without a doubt, you know, just amongst the two, seeing a lot more Dialga in the meta and Rhyperior, and also the fused Kyurems. I mean, it's just no brainer where Rhyperior with Breaking Swipe and Rock Wrecker coverage moves is just the way to go. And I still believe Origin Palkia is the most consistent and strongest dragon in this meta. So, but we're going to be jumping into these battles and we're going to commentate as we go. Now, these are battles I have not reviewed, so we're going to be shoutcasting as we go and talk about things here. We're going to have Florges in the lead. Now, Florges doesn't necessarily win this matchup. Trailblaze is a good move, but not a very strong, super effective move against Rhyperior. As you can see, still chunks quite a bit. But Rhyperior with Rock Wrecker still does quite a bit of damage. Now, Panic is staying in here. You don't really want to see Florges amongst Kyurem and also Palkia. I'm going to assume he's going to shield here to force another shield if the opponent is going to bounce to shields. In the 1-1 shield situation, it looks pretty good. Now, our opponent catches the move, which is pretty good on their part. And I believe we're going to switch into Kyurem. It's a Shadow Rhyperior amongst all things. We can easily take a Breaking Swipe. It's not going to be fun. It is super effective, but we can easily farm down and save the shield for Palkia, because in the closer, Palkia with the shield advantage, or at least just having a shield, is pretty strong in itself. We're going to see a Palkia of their own now. Panic is going to throw the Ice Burn, which is the smarter play here. There's no sense of baiting because you're only going to get to one move, and they do shields. Now, like I talked about, our own Palkia with a shield is going to be very, very strong. In this situation, as a closer, you don't want to throw the move immediately. And you don't really need to anyways, because their Palkia already has an energy advantage. And what they're going to possibly do is try to catch a spatial run onto their Florges, because their Florges is still alive and still pretty healthy. Well, there we go. So we're going to try to make the catch, or at least that was my anticipation of what Panic was trying to do. But at least chipping with Mud Slap gets it into a range where Aqua Tail knocks out here. Boom. Knocks it out easy. And now we still can farm down. It's going to be very, very close, but the Aqua Tail is just going to be enough to knock out this Palkia, and it's going to be a GG. Good energy management, being aware of the team comps, and even though our opponent caught the move, it's still very efficient where we can come in with our Ice Fang Kyurem and farm it down. Now, I still believe Ice Fang Kyurem is the stronger fused Kyurems amongst Black Kyurem, but as we always said in our couple podcast videos, that the Kyurems are still very strong, and you know, just the ice one is the way to go in my opinion. Now, there's a lot of people that are running Dragon Breath and Dragon Tail respectively on the Kyurems, and I don't really see the rhyme or reason because there are other better dragon types out there. And it leaves Rhyperior, because I think this is what I was talking about in Panic's stream when he was playing these battles, that it makes Rhyperior that much stronger. Like, Rhyperior is such a strong pick. Like, you would think Rhyperior would be out of this meta finally, and with the Kyurems now, like, I don't know if it's the content creators out there or people are just saying like, oh, go for the Dragon Breath, Dragon Tail user Kyurems, but man, like, it makes Rhyperior that much stronger, and it's just really, really crazy. And seeing this battle right now, we're not talking about Keldeo, but Keldeo is another strong pick in this meta, and we've seen Panic sniping, knocking out the Keldeo. Now, we're up against an Origin Dialga. It's not really the best situation for our Palkia. It's really one of the stronger counters to Palkia is Origin Dialga. And we get a bait for a shield. And we're going to throw another Aqua Tail. Now, if your Pokemon's running low, it's always good to throw a move to chip in Master League, because energy lost is not beneficial for your matchups. You can sometimes get away with that for Great League and Ultra League, but for Master League, you typically want to take full advantage of all of your energy and the damage in your matchups. Rhyperior is coming in with a Mud Slap. Now, I think in this situation, it is smarter to throw the Fusion Flare and get some chip damage. Our opponent ends up shielding, so they don't really know the counts. Oh, I see what was happening because we were chit-chatting. The Rhyperior was too low. So he was trying to see if he can get to farming down to a nice Ice Burn, but yep, did not happen in that situation. But jumping into the next battle, we should probably pay attention a little bit and not ramble too much. But we had a Melmetal lead up against a Palkia, and this is pretty good to chip and dip because we have our own Palkia here, and getting a attack fall really helps in this situation. Now, their Palkia, I think it'll be a smarter play to really get to the Spatial Rend here, because I don't think they really get to back, but they do bait. We do end up shielding, and Panic is going to end up throwing the move here, and I think it's just a smarter and safer play to go, is just throwing the move. They don't knock out Palkia, but we do manage to farm before they get to a move, and they should come back into a Melmetal, which they do. In this case, it's just better to throw the Aqua Tail and not the Spatial Rend. Aqua Tail is a neutral move against our Melmetal opponent. And I think it's just best to throw the move once again and to basically let the Melmetal knock out our Palkia. We don't want to give up switch because we got our alignment that we need just in case there is an answer for the Rhyperior in the back, which really should be in this situation. You can almost guess and say maybe it is a Kyogre, maybe another dragon of sorts. In this case, it is a white Kyurem. So we're going to throw another breaking swipe, go for the attack fall chance, get a little chip and dip if anything. We get the attack fall, and the chip damage is going to make us win this matchup pretty smoothly. We can easily shield and farm down and pretty much get to back-to-back fusion flares against the Melmetal. And our opponent sees that situation and top lefts and GG's from our opponent. Like I said, it's very, very strong to see Rhyperior and Palkia as a core. They can almost go with, I don't want to say any third in between, but Florges would be a strong pick. I would say Kyurem is also a strong pick, or even another dragon type like Dialga of sorts. You could almost say, like I talked about in the video, that Meloetta would be another strong pick as well too in the middle. And you can't really go wrong because a lot of things that Meloetta doesn't want to see in terms of its losses, Rhyperior has that matchups, or has those matchups, or can win them, let's put it that way. So those are things like you want to consider about in terms of team building, is rather than like an ABB lineup, what are some other good cores that you can pick so you can have that complementary playing style when it comes to Pokemon? Or you could come up with a third Pokemon that'll be a great closer and try to really rely and stick to your core, and then whatever you have as a close, you can utilize that to see like you can win those matches with landing nukes or things along those lines. Jumping into the battle, seeing Panic calling that Trailblaze. I'm not sure if the opponent built up to a Moonblast or even a Disarming Voice, but we're throwing the Ice Burn. Look at that damage. Doesn't knock out, but gives an energy lead for Palkia. Now, our opponent has to shield this because this knocks out the Rhyperior. Rhyperior always has to fish for a breaking swipe to survive a move, but even then, it's still pretty effective. Like, it's still pretty strong landing the Aqua Tail. We're going to see if Panic gets the debuff, and he doesn't. And he's going to get to the move before he gets to another breaking swipe. Now, breaking swipe is 4-3-4, and they were just at the move, but were able to knock this out and farm down against their Palkia before they even get to another move. So that was an easy win for Panic in this game, in this battle. Jumping into the next battle, we have a Ho-Oh lead. This is really great for Rhyperior. Now, Ho-Oh gets to a Brave Bird by the time we get to a Rock Wrecker. And in most cases, our opponents really like throw, well, in this case, our opponent just throws the Brave Bird. But we had the opportunity as a Rhyperior if you really want to bait or throw the Rock Wrecker. Now, Panic opts out to save that energy and throw it onto the Palkia to chip and dip. And this is really going to force our opponent to show their third, because Ho-Oh does not want to see a Palkia. Again, Palkia can get to an Aqua Tail by the time our opponent gets to a Brave Bird. And in this case here, we don't have to necessarily shield, but I think getting the alignment is really necessary, and having a rather healthy Palkia is the way to go. Now, our opponent has Origin Dialga. We don't get to the Spatial Rend, so we're going to throw the Aqua Tail and chip and dip. Now, if our opponent doesn't know, which they don't, beautiful. Shields are down. I would imagine our Rhyperior is going to come in. We're going to shield the move. We're going to throw the breaking swipe, which is not bad in this situation. If we can chip it more, as much as we can against the Dialga, we can come in with our Kyurem and get to a move. Now, our opponent's going to throw the move. I think this is the smarter play not to shields, because we don't want to have no shields against our Kyurem. We can easily farm down. But our opponent comes back into Ho-Oh, which is pretty interesting. Gives us more farm for our Kyurem. We're going to easily shield here. We're going to probably build up a little bit of extra energy to have something against the Dialga and win the matchup. I'm going to say he's going to get to one more move right here. Nope. Opponent's going to go for number 4. And double Fusion Flare is going to be enough to knock out the Ho-Oh and the Dialga. GG's. I guess Panic wants to go with the Ice Burn. He just wants to just really make sure this Dialga knocks out and we win the match. Oh, Panic! If you don't watch Panic streams, you got to take a minute and give him a follow, because he's been, you know, really fun and entertaining with his battles, especially in Master League. He was one of the first that was running Enamorus, Origin Palkia, and Dialga, which was another fun and very, very strong team in the meta for a couple seasons. Not really so much this season, but you could probably finesse it with all the Dragon Tail and Dragon Breath Curums, where Enamorus can have a little bit more play. And because of that, initially in the beginning, with Enamorus being very strong as it was, and seeing all the different Curums with the movesets of Ice Fang and Shadow Claw, it really pushed out Enamorus, and that's why Florges has been that strong replacement. But yeah, it'd be fun to see that Pokemon and that team being utilized again. I've only seen it once or twice this rotation, or this second rotation, so to speak, because all leagues are open. But it's really fun to see that Pokemon, because it really still does core break a lot of Pokemon, or at least a lot of teams. We're seeing a Tapu Lele. I don't know how this is really going to play out, but Tapu Lele is still very strong. They do Psyshock bait, which I think maybe going for the Nature Madness would be a little more efficient. But I think we're trying to utilize shields, but Panic managed to call that bait. Now they're going to get to another move. I think it's pretty smart to shield and attempt to farm down. In this case, you might be able to farm it down. Nope, we're going to throw the move. Okay. Again, not really paying attention to the battles, or at least to this particular battle, because we had a Lando. Yeah, it was better to throw the Fusion Flare to knock out the Kira. Those Ice Fangs really chunk Lando. Now, people still say Lando is not really best to use in this meta, and I can agree to disagree. You just gotta keep it away from Ice Kyurem, but it's still very strong against the Rhyperiors, the Dialgas, the Ho-Ohs, and a few other Pokemon in this meta. Even like the Melmetals, they're still pretty strong in this meta too, where Lando has a lot of play. We have Rhyperior against Kyurem once again, and man, Panic is just getting the luck with the debuffs. We can easily farm this down. They're not going to get to 2 moves, so we can easily shield this and farm down. Now, if they bait, they bait, and I highly doubt they do. They don't get the debuff, and so we're able to farm this down. Now, yep, they're up a shield. The Palkia comes in. We could possibly bait. Yep. You might get to a nice burn if they don't end up wanting to throw their Aqua Tail, because it's going to be very, very close. We might make it, Oh, we don't. I was seeing what you're trying to do there, Panic. This is going to be really, really bad. They are pretty much back-to-back at Spatial Ren, so we have to call the bait. Oh my gosh. Come on, opponent. Stop baiting. Stop baiting. Necrozma comes back in. I think it's probably best to come in Rhyperior. I'm assuming that's what Panic's going to do. Yep. And then getting these Mud Slap chips are... that damage. That damage. I don't think Necrozma's going to get to another move. We're going to probably throw... Nope. We're farming down. I'm not counting in these videos. Panic is, apparently. So this is going to force the Palkia to throw the move, and we can just farm down because they're not going to get to a move. So that's GG's with this game here. Yeah, I wanted to see the shield KO kind of situation, Panic. I wanted to see it. GG's to our opponent. Now, if I recall, because I didn't say in the beginning of this video, Findpanic had a 17-3 run with this team. Even though we're seeing a Lando lead, not something we want to see. We're coming into our hard counter Palkia. They're going to probably chip and dip with a Sandshear Storm. If they're not switching out, I'm assuming they have Origin Palkia in the back like we usually do with our Rhyperiors. Oh, they come in with Necrozma. Interesting. Okay. Maybe they have something else that our Palkia might have some play. Maybe they're ABA weak to Palkia. Who knows? But Panic is throwing on good timing. We're chipping away with Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail is the way to go. It usually takes 3 Aqua Tails to knock it out. Our opponent's going to probably... Well, not throw the move, which is interesting. So now they're up to shield tier before they throw the move. Bad call from our opponent. We're going to most likely let this go because there's no sense of really shielding. They have like, oh, they throw an outrage. Hello, trainer? Hello? What other move do you have on your Necrozma? So we're going to most likely throw the Rock Wrecker. Panic opts out to not throw on a CMP because Lando wins CMP, one of the still stronger Pokemon or higher attack stat Pokemon in this meta. Fun fact, Fuse Kyrums have a higher attack stat than most Pokemon in this meta besides some of the mythical bug Pokemons. Not bug, our mythical oh my gosh, what's the I'm drawing a blank. Like Kartana and Necrozma, Kartana and oh my gosh, I'm really drawing a blank. Just correct me, make fun of me, chat. I am really drawing a blank. There's a few other Pokemon that still have a higher attack stat than the Fuse Kyrums, but usually it's Mewtwo, Lando are pretty high, and Origin Palkia. But fun fact, what I was pretty much trying to get at is the Fuse Kyrums have the higher attack stat than most Pokemon in the meta. Our opponent throws the Breaking Swipe, trying to fish for that debuff. We do survive another one. Now it's just up to Panic if he wants to save some health, which he does not. He's going to keep the shield, and he's going to throw the Ice Burn against their own Kyurem. Very, very strong. And our opponent ends up shielding and farming down. Our Rhyperior is going to come in. Now we're going to have to call the bait, which we just end up shielding. I think this is a very safe shield. Our opponent ends up throwing a Fusion Flare. And 1-in-1, Palkia and Lando. We end up, we're going to end up winning this match because we can throw the double Aqua Tail and be pretty safe. If anything, we can also save the shield and throw the Rock Wrecker against the Lando because they're at that health where they're not going to be able to survive. But our opponent ends up not shielding. Pretty interesting. Oh, this is a Dragon Breath user. Okay. Okay. Again, I'm just yapping away, getting all confused of attack stats and not remembering our Pokemon that are having a higher attack stats than the Fuse Kyrums. But GG's for Panic once again. We're coming down to 1 or 2 more battles. We're seeing another Kyurem in the lead. Is this going to be a nice thing, Kyurem? It is another Dragon Breath Kyurem. Again, this is very strong for Rhyperior. Is the only move that can land and hurt Rhyperior is an Ice Burn. And yeah, they come in with their own Rhyperior catching the move, which is very smart. Once again, we're able to shield and farm down with our own Kyurem. And this is going to cause a lot of havoc and pressure against their own. Now, in the mirror matchup, it makes a lot of sense for Kyurem to have Dragon Breath, but I still think in the meta, Ice Fang is still the way to go. It just has a lot of neutral play. Still chunks quite a bit. No rhyme or reason to really, have Dragon Breath. Now, our opponent comes in with Dialga, which is pretty interesting. I thought they're going to come in with their own Kyurem, but it makes some sense, I suppose. They're going to shield once and just farm all the way down because they don't want to take the Ice Burn damage. But our Rhyperior is going to come in. This is going to be a pretty healthy shield. Now, they do have a lot of energy, so I don't think they're able to... oh, they switch into their own. Okay. This is interesting. I thought they're going to probably stay in, at least throw like another Iron Head to cause more pressure against Panic. But in this case, they're going to probably maybe catch. No, they're going to force to throw the move. Fusion Flare is not going to be enough, so Ice Burn is going to have to knock out. Things are looking pretty good. I think we're able to farm down this. Yeah, we're able to farm down. This is beautiful. Now they get to... they don't get to Aurora time. GG's. GG's. I was about to say, like, we could probably throw an Aqua Tail and knock out, but they had quite a bit of energy. Aqua Tail will probably be enough to knock out from that health. But that was a pretty smooth and easy play from Findpanic. And that's it for our battles. Like I said, 17-3 for Findpanic. So that's it with the battles. Like I said, Findpanic had a 17-3 run with this team and with the battle submissions. And Palkia and Rhyperior is just a strong core. I've been using it instead of having Ice Kyurem. I was wanting to do something a little bit different, a little bit more fun. Not to say spicy, because it does have a little bit more play, but we don't see it as much, which is Solgaleo. So again, depending on what you want to use as a strong core, a Pokemon that has a very complementary pairing with another one in terms of its wins and losses, you can utilize another Pokemon and have a different playing style. Ice Kyurem in this case, I think, causes a lot of pressure. With Ice Burn, has a lot of coverage with Fusion Flare in this meta, especially against the Lando and a few other typing with Pokemon that are just not strong against dragon types like Kyogre. But again, you can pair it up with Meloetta, Solgaleo. I would also say Duskmane is another strong pick, because Palkia and also Duskmane is a very strong core in itself. You can't go wrong with Lando as well too. Instead, maybe I would probably have Palkia in the lead with Lando and Rhyperior in the back. But again, once you start figuring out what's a good core, you can start throwing other Pokemon and come up with different playing styles and still manage to win once you understand your team and how you use it. But that's about it for this series. I'm going to try to come up with other core series in itself, or just core battles, and showcase those teams. I'll pizzazz it maybe a little bit differently, but just to get things going in terms of submission. So once again, thank you, Findpanic, for submitting your battles. You're going to see again his links to his Twitch on the bottom in the description, like somewhere down, like. But that's about it. I'll see y'all later. Chat, YouTubers, TikTokers, and not Twitch, but yeah. Thanks again, everyone, for watching this video. Give a thumbs up and like and subscribe, and I'll be posting more videos in the future. Ciao. See you later.